Okay, so the question is, how did I learn to forgive myself and love myself? I'm still learning, I think. Because sometimes I get angry with myself also. So it's still a process. It's a process, unfinished process. But I think it's very important to forgive yourself for your mistakes, for your ignorance, for the things that you've done without knowing, like the better way. And I think it's important to forgive because we're not perfect. We're always learning, and there's always so much more to learn. And it's the same for everybody else, so that's why we have to be able to forgive also everybody else. Whether what they did is right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It's not easy. It's not easy to forgive other people when we think maybe they wronged us or like that. It's not easy. But it's very important because when you forgive, you create the cause to be more happy. When you forgive yourself and you forgive other people, you create that cause. When you don't forgive, you carry a weight. It's like carrying a backpack full of lead. It actually weighs you down, so you can't really walk as easily, you can't really do anything as easily because you have a weight on top of you. It's like, for example, if you have a trauma from childhood, maybe it's not your mistake, somebody else's mistake, but because you don't forgive them and you don't forgive yourself, you carry the trauma with you. Childhood problem. So as long as you're carrying it with you, then that's gonna hinder you to do anything else. And it also it won't let you really be yourself, because you're carrying a weight that doesn't belong to you. It's a weight somebody else gave. So if you take it, if you say, okay, this happened to me when I was a kid, and now I have a trauma, I have blah blah blah, all this, then actually what you're doing is you're reinforcing that thought, you're reinforcing that suffering. You actually create the cause to not be able to be yourself the same way, and it's not really helping you at all. If you carry that weight with you, oh, this happened to me when I was a kid, okay. That happened to you probably because somebody else wasn't wise enough to understand, or maybe they had the same problem and they didn't overcome that problem. So then we carry it, but it's not our weight, it's not our mistake, it's not our problem. So that's something that happens a lot, and we carry it with us everywhere we go. And then in different situations, we blame ourselves and we blame our past for how we are today. But that's completely wrong, because we can change anytime we want. You can be whoever you want to be anytime, any moment. It's not like, okay, you're this and that's it. Of course, like from 1 to 7 years old, that's like the foundation of our personality. Right? So whatever happens at that time is going to affect us for the rest of our life, obviously. But we can always change that. And you use that as a way of learning, as a way of becoming wiser, as a way of becoming stronger, as overcoming. And not only that, but we can also help other people who are going through the same problems. So I think that's really important, to be able to forgive yourself and to forgive other people, even though it may be something it seems completely unforgivable. It's not easy, but it's very important. It's very important because if you don't do that, then you just carry a weight all around with you, which is completely useless. Unless you learn from it, and you overcome it, and you realize it's not your weight, then you can move on, and then you can actually continue with your life. So that's why forgiving is so important anytime. Even if it's the smallest forgiveness or the biggest forgiveness, you should always be able to forgive. Because that actually, it helps a lot. It helps you, it helps other people as an example. And yeah, so it takes off the weight, it takes off the responsibility of having to carry a weight that's not yours. And to love yourself, I think, is also very important, because we're living with ourselves 24/7. Right? 24-hour full power, no shower. So yeah, sometimes you have to shower, it's good. Yeah, so you have to love yourself. If you stink, then how can you love yourself, right? No, I'm just kidding. I have a friend I met him in my travels, and he never showered. You know? But he didn't really smell bad. He always wear the same clothes. He was like, whoa, you know, everything's okay, everything's cool, open, talking with everybody, here, that, you know. It just opened my heart so much, you know, it was amazing. And he had like these long nails, and under the nails were all black. Like this long beard, but he was just this amazing heart. He was completely free. He didn't care about, he would just sleep anywhere. He would sleep on the beach, and anywhere, just like, he would just find a place and just fall asleep there. And then in the morning, maybe he would be like, oh, I was really cold last night. I couldn't sleep very well. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you should prepare yourself before you decide to go to sleep. He's like, yeah, I think you're right. But I mean, like, wherever he went, everybody was just smiles. Like, everybody loved him so much. Now he's going to be a father, actually. His name is Eric. I think this month, maybe, yeah, his wife will have the baby. Yeah, so anyways, yeah, so he actually helped me a lot to learn about that, about like love, you know, about just unconditional love. Just don't care about yourself, you know, just don't be so self-aware of anything, you know. He just talked with anybody, everybody, all the time. Wherever he go, he just hug everybody, talk with everybody, and just, everybody would just like flower, you know, like he would break the ice, and then say, of course some people would be like, oh, what's this guy, you know, what's up with him? But most of the time, once they talk to him, it was just like, wow. So yeah, so I think love is very important, you know, especially when you have like a hard childhood where maybe you've had situations where it's difficult for you to actually appreciate yourself. You know, like when you look in the mirror, most of the times people don't really, like, they try to find the faults in ourselves. Like when you look at the mirror, or you look at the photo of yourself, you always try to find like what's kind of, I don't know, for myself at least it's like that. When I look in the mirror, I always see like, oh no, you know, I don't like myself. Like that, like the way when I see everybody else, it's like everybody's beautiful. You know, each person is unique. But then when I look at myself, I'm like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, but then of course, then after like this is a good example, like when somebody takes a picture of me, and then I look at the picture in a very recent time, and then I look at all the defects of myself, and I don't like myself. And then maybe after 2-3 years, I look at the same photo, and I'm like, wow, I'm pretty good looking there. So, what changed? Did the photo change, or did my mind change? And that's the question. So I mean, it's all about recognizing that, you know, love is everywhere and it's not conditioned. You know, so first of all, you have to love yourself because that's who you are. You are love. Yeah. Life is love. I mean, like, we were created with love. We were born with love. And that's life. I mean, life is love. It's the same thing, you know. It's just people just confuse it with attachment. And then they're like, oh, love sucks. It makes you suffer. No, it does not. Attachment makes you suffer. The ego makes you suffer. Yeah. Any more questions?
We suffering because we misunderstand the reality. And this is ignorance. And understand empathiness can help us free from suffering. But empathiness, this concept is still very abstract for me.
Emptiness.
So, yes, can you, based on your experience, can you share the example of empathiness for us? And explain why understand empathiness can help free from suffering? Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I can't talk about emptiness from my experience. It's impossible. So I'm probably the most ignorant of all of you. You have to teach me. But I can talk about emptiness, about the concept, I think. A little bit, at least. Actually, what I talked about before, the amoeba, remember the amoeba in the stomach? And the one consciousness in our head? But the amoeba is part of our being. And when we make a decision, it involves our whole body. It's a little bit like that. It's like our consciousness is part of the earth, right? So the consciousness of the earth is like our consciousness compared to the amoeba, right? Can you relate to that? Yeah, no. Okay. So, for example, inside your stomach you have one amoeba. So that amoeba is part of you. And your consciousness and the consciousness of the amoeba is almost the same. When you make a decision, you make this decision for all your body. So your body is part of you. So your consciousness is like, it's like together. Because when you make a decision, it's one. So do you think about that in the universe? Maybe that's a little bit difficult to understand. Okay, for example, think about, so like, okay, Buddhism talks about dualism, so I don't really know much about that. But what I do know is that the universe is divided in two parts, a lot. So, for example, good and bad, female, male, day and night. Yeah? So that division is like the way kind of we see it that way. It's like, there's divide, it's division. So there's a day and the night. So there's daytime, nighttime. So we count the days, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. But actually it's all the same day. Right? The only thing is changing is the planet is spinning like that, but actually it's the same day. It's all 1 day. Right? But we divide, oh, daytime, nighttime, female, male, good, bad. What's the difference between good and bad? For example, if you write, okay, like live, L-I-V-E. If you write it the other way, what does it say? Evil. Yeah? So the opposite, so evil, life, the word actually when you turn it around it's evil, when you turn it around it's live. Yeah? So when I realized that, I thought, it's very interesting. So actually good and bad, it's not like, okay, this is good, this is bad. No, one thing is you're going forward. Right? Good, you're going forward. Bad, you're going backwards. So one thing is you're evolving, the other thing is you're de-evolving. Right? So actually there is no good and bad. There's just forward and backwards. For example, you kill somebody, you create the cause to fall down, like to be reborn, let's say like a tiger. So as a tiger, you have no choice. To survive, you have to kill. So you create more causes to fall even more. Or maybe, for example, you're reborn in the favela in Rio de Janeiro. There, if you want to survive, you have to be part of a gang. To be part of a gang, you have to kill somebody to show that you are worth being part of a gang. So people, if you're born in that situation, what choice do you have? You don't know anything else. Right? You have no choice. So you have to kill somebody to survive. So that situation creates the cause to de-evolve even more. So every time you're de-evolving more. So it's very easy to de-evolve, it's very easy to evolve. Very easy both ways. You have a choice right there. If you do good, the more good you do, the easier it is. You're reborn in a life where maybe your family is very good-hearted, maybe they're vegetarians, maybe they want to help people, so like automatically you're born in that family and you have the opportunity to help so many people and you have a good heart, all of that. So the more good you do, the easier it is to do good. The more bad you do, the easier it is to do bad. That's how it is, that's how karma works. But actually there's no difference between good and evil. Good and bad. I mean there's a difference obviously, but it's not like how we see it, like black and white. It's just one choice, it's just forward or backwards. Right? I don't know, maybe it's not very clear. So basically emptiness, from what I understand, the little bit I understand, is that, first of all, we perceive the object, right, the object is here, we perceive the object. So there has to be something there for us to perceive. If there's nothing, then we cannot perceive anything, right? This is only empty space. But for there to be something, there has to be empty space. So the base is empty space. Right? Space is basic. Without space, there cannot be anything. Okay, so then first, so there is something. But what I'm seeing is not what is there. Because what I see is completely different from what actually is there. Because what I'm seeing is inside my head, it's inside me. It's not the actual thing that's there. So we are creating a division already. Because it's different from what is there. That division, that duality, that's like the ignorance or the separation, the idea of separation. So when you clear that away, when you realize that there is no separation, that actually the cup is, okay, I'm confused now. So the cup, okay, can you help me out here, please? Jimmy, come help me. How many years have you studied Buddhism? Okay, help me here. What happens when you see the cup? So when you attain emptiness, what happens to the cup?
You see it as a dependent arising, dependent on all of its parts, dependent on knowing it, and every other way it doesn't exist from its own side.
So it doesn't exist from itself. Exactly.
So there's nothing to grasp and there's nothing to push away.
Yeah. Interdependence. So for example, everything has to depend on something. On everything. Like when we're born, we have to depend on our parents, on our grandfather, great-great-grandfather, all this. All the food of all our great-grandfathers, grandmothers. We have to depend on all these situations. Maybe the circumstance where our parents met. That moment in time, maybe that was like that split moment, and that's where they met. Maybe if they didn't meet then, like their son, and that would never happen. So there's so many different situations where, for example, a flower. A flower depends on the soil, on the water, on the person that takes care of the flower. And then you can look at the flower and say, okay, this is a flower, but where is the flower? Right? If you take out the petals, each petal, and then finally there's no petals, where's the flower? Was the flower the petals? So that's the concept a little bit of emptiness, you know, it's when you actually look for something, you cannot find it. Where are you? You cannot find it. Am I the finger? Am I the leg? Am I the whole thing together? So basically when you divide everything, it just becomes more and more empty. More and more empty. Right? As quantum physics talks about, it says 99.9% of material is empty. And if you could put all of the material on this planet, like the actual material, the molecules that are actually make up like material, you could actually fit everything in a sugar cube. Or something like that. Right? That's what science kind of talks about. So it's very interesting that actually, you know, Dharma actually talked about that thousands of years ago. So I don't know if that kind of makes sense, but it's not easy to understand, and even more difficult to actually experience it. It's not something you can experience like that. Sometimes it takes lifetimes. You know, but the first step is like that. So there's two types of meditation, analytical meditation and practical meditation. So the analytical meditation is that. To analyze every day. You can take your time. You know, maybe 10 minutes, you just can pick up something and look at it closely, and then try to intellectually understand, you know, how that or how you are completely interdependent constantly for it to exist. There's nothing that exists from its own side, like Jimmy Neal said. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. If he says it's correct, then it's correct. How many years have you been studying Dharma?
Tibetan Buddhism, about 40
years. Okay, so he knows. I can put the responsibility on him. I wash my hands. If I was a mistake, it's his fault. Because he didn't correct me. Okay, so more questions?
If you're a father, maybe sometimes, and your child will be chosen as an incarnated of the High Lama, would you send him to the monastery?
Ah, good question. Yeah, I probably would. But I would maybe try to... I mean, it's very complicated. Because each individual is different. So I like to use this example, you know, like... you can have hot water, right? So you boil water, and inside the water you put a potato, and you put an egg. The egg will become hard, and the potato will become soft. So it's not about the circumstances, it's about what you're made of and how you cope with it. You know, so like maybe one person you put in the monastery becomes an egg, the other person becomes a potato. So it's not easy. It's not easy. You have to make that decision based on the circumstances and the situation. You know, you have to. And you have to take responsibility too, because maybe after when the kid grows up, he's gonna hate you for it, or maybe he's gonna love you for it. So yeah, I think it's very circumstantial. You know, you just really have to feel and just. I mean, I don't really know how to answer that question because I would have to have a son of my own or a daughter of my own to know and to be able to answer that question. Most probably, I'll be so attached that I'll probably not allow that to happen. But then maybe they'll hate me for it. So, I don't know. It's difficult. It's very difficult. It's very, very, like, fragile, you know, very...
You were 3 or 4 years old when you were taken away from your parents.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? It's like when you send a child to a boarding school when they're 6 years old. They're crying.
No.
Or were your parents at the beginning part of the monastery, like now those incarnated lamas? Usually the mother also stays near was that transition?
Can I answer that for you?
Huh?
Wow, I like this. This is debate now. Now I can relax. I'm going to lie down.
Like this gentleman was saying when he introduced OSO, he said that the reincarnate lamas are not like ordinary children. They don't, they don't have the same attachment and
Did I say that?
grasping. I actually knew OSO when he was 4 years old.
Yeah, I know.
And he was not an ordinary child like you would think a normal 4-year-old would be. And like the man who introduced him said, you'd have to experience it to realise the difference, but the reincarnate lamas are actually partially identified by the fact that they are so different, because they have so much carried over from their past lifetime, that they're not like a normal 4-year-old.
The question is, how much is interpretation? I think for every father, the child is an extraordinary child. Bigger than everybody else. And then when you're chosen, then this is put on you, and then you, I don't know, and his parents come from a tradition. Now, okay, he would not have been incarnated in a Christian family probably. So everything is culturally. So, but that is not the point. Is the attachment of the father to the child.
So, for example, I don't remember the moment where I actually like I was separated from my family. But I do remember my earliest memory was here in TUSHITA when I was 3 years old. I was in the forest over in the back, investigating, exploring.
You won't remember, but we also saw you.
Oh, maybe I remember. I'll be careful.
We have also sons, and we put them into the Tibetan school as foreigners.
You did?
Which is a similar situation as
you. Have a
it's
son?
not the monasteries, but it's a Tibetan school, a Tibetan upbringing.
Okay, I have a question for you. Would you put your son in the monastery?
That's what I would ask myself. Would I put my son in a Tibetan school first?
I think many times it's a gamble. You know, you put the tulku in the monastery and you just hope to turn out good.
It's karma.
I think for a while many people thought I didn't turn out good. Maybe now yes, I don't know. Maybe I have your approval now.
Because they have expectations.
Exactly. Expectation, projections. The more you project, the harder life will hit you in the face. The more you expect, the less it will be as you expected. But that's how the mind works. We project so much, we want to control. We want to put things in boxes so that we can have a control on it. We lose control, then we get nervous, we get anxious. For example, I don't know, today, in 21st century, the people, they are bombarded by entertainment and distractions. And sometimes, for example, if you don't have something to do, if you don't have somebody to talk to, then you need the phone to chat. if you don't have the phone to chat, then you have to watch something or do something or go somewhere. You know, like people get scared of not doing anything. You know, of not being distracted. It like makes them agitated. They get anxious. So like today, that's a big problem. You know, because the more we get bombarded by distractions and all these different like entertainment, then the less closer we are from ourselves. It's the same way. Many people, they search outside. So some people are like searching everywhere. They go from religion to religion, from teacher to teacher, searching. And they're never satisfied, they're never happy, they're always like, ah. But actually what's happening, or like even materially, you know, like, okay, the new car, or the new house, or the new this, new girlfriend, new this, blah, blah, you're always searching for more outside. What's going to bring them happiness? What's going to bring them satisfaction? But what they don't realize is that the only thing can bring you that is inside yourself. And the more you search outside, the further away you are from yourself. So you're actually doing the opposite from what you're looking for. But that's how we are educated. The education today doesn't really teach us how to live. It just teaches us how to work. So basically they're creating like donkeys. I don't want to insult anybody. But it's not completely like that, but it's a little bit like that. So basically it's like we learn how to work, but we don't really know how to live. So then we have all these doubts and we have all these problems. But then of course it doesn't matter because we're distracted constantly. You know? And then when we do search, we search outside. So all these circumstances actually avoid us from really knowing ourselves and understanding our true nature, our inner nature, which is, I think, it's a very important step in our life. You know, the moment you start doubting, the moment you start actually thinking, okay, you know, maybe the truth is inside me. You know, maybe the path is inside me. Is it like a little bit like this is a metaphor I use a lot, but it works very well. So imagine you're completely lost in a forest, in a jungle, okay, the Amazon jungle. And you're by yourself, you don't have a torch, you don't have anything, and it's complete dark. But there's a full moon, okay? So basically you can find your way out if you maybe like you climb a tree, and then from the top of the tree, with the help of the full moon, you can see further away. So then you can say, okay, that direction. And then you go down and you walk that direction. You may get scratched, you may fall because it's dark, but you're going in the right direction. So the point is to get out of the forest. The point is not going to the moon. We cannot go to the moon. So people get confused there. They think they have to go to the moon, but it's impossible. You need to become an astronaut first. And then you need your rocket. Right? So otherwise how do you get to the moon? Unless of course you fly. But then once you get out of the atmosphere, you just disintegrate. So the point is you want to get out of the forest, you don't want to go to the moon. And that's many people get confused like that, you know, it's like Dharma is the truth, it's the way, you know, like, oh, that's the ultimate reality, that's everything, all that. But actually the teacher, the guru, all that, of course, the teacher is going to help us to get out of the forest, like the moon. But that is not where we're going. We have to find our own way. We have to walk our own path. So that's a great metaphor I like to use because for me it makes a lot of sense. You know, we're trying to get out of the forest, we're not going to the moon. And that's sometimes people get lost like that because from like you just keep searching, and you always think there's something out there which you're missing, or there's something, but actually you're not missing anything, everything is right here. All you have to do is sit down, breathe, and be aware of the people surrounding you. And then try to see if you can help them. And then starting from there, then everything will come back to you. So it's not about realizations. I mean, it is about realizations eventually. But first of all, you have to have a good heart and you have to take care of yourself. So eat good food, organic. And try to, at least maybe if it's too expensive, try to at least, you know, try to. Nowadays, it's really hard to actually eat healthy food, you know, because of just the way everything is designed. You know, that's why like I'm really into permaculture. I like permaculture. I want to do permaculture. I want to create more permaculture culture. You know, and like yoga, meditation, all of these things really help the body. So once we have a healthy body, then we can actually start flowering the mind, the inner self, the inner nature of ourselves. But if we don't take care of our body, then it's more hard, it becomes more difficult. So that's the first step, you know, try to take care of yourself. And then you also are the example. So by setting an example, you already inspire other people to do the same. So it's not about helping all sentient beings. You can pray for that, for sure, but the first step is to help yourself. Not in an egoistic manner, but actually in a way, in a selfless way, where you say, okay, I want to improve as a person so I can help other people to improve too. And I think with that motivation, if you wake up every morning, you're not going to suffer as much. I can guarantee you. And if not, you can come back to me and you can sue me.
Let's get back to the basic.
Yeah.
In order to inspire positive change in the world, with the wish to make the most of your brief lifetime, where would you put the middle way between sitting on your cushion until you reach enlightenment and being a super active activist, like going in the streets every day against people who eat animals and people who make war and everything?
I think before getting into other people's business, you have to take care of your business. Because otherwise, there's no point. You know, if you're not an example yourself, then you cannot ask anybody for anything. And not only that, actually, you should never judge anybody. Because you cannot judge anybody, because you don't really know the situation. You have no right to judge, even though we do judge. And if we do judge, because that's our nature, at least don't condemn. Because we are constantly changing. We can improve, we can make mistakes, and we can improve and realize and change. So that's why sometimes people say, okay, no, like they condemn somebody because they judge and they condemn. Well, that's, at least if you judge, that's human nature, so, but at least be aware that you're judging and that you have no right to do it, because you don't really know what the other person is going through. People like to criticize other people a lot, but they don't really look at themselves. You know, I think that's very important, to look at yourself first, before looking at other people. If you're going to look at other people, only look at their good qualities. You know? Overvalue positiveness, and then positiveness will flower.